As I build my coaching business, I want to know how to effectively serve clients and make more money doing it. This podcast will pull back the curtain to reveal exactly how successful coaches are building their empires. Join me as I engage with top coaches from all over the world to discover their secrets. No theatrics and no theory, just real life strategy. My name is William Winterton, and this is Coaching Success Radio. Hey, welcome back to Coaching Success Radio. Today, I am speaking with somebody who was actually introduced to me from a previous guest, Annie Henderson. If you haven't heard her program, she's been on, actually, I think she's won so far. She is a phenomenal woman, and she said through a message about a month and a half ago, she said, "You gotta meet Bryann." Like, all right, so let me introduce me to Bryann. So we start connecting, and I want to share this little story here that they have a podcast that they call it Happy Mama Village. They've been running for quite a while. They're both life coaches, two very specialized niches that they do. But Bryann is actually a divorce recovery coach, and she's been gracious enough and scheduled time to come on the program and share a little bit about how that works together, working with two life coaches working together, and also how she's been growing her business and some exciting stuff that she's doing to help get some more income and some more traction in 2020. So help me introduce Bryann Zielinski. Bryann, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
We were just having a brief discussion about how unfortunately weird the weather has been in our home cities out in Texas, right?
Right. It's a little dreary, but it's always, it's up and down constantly. In fact, I saw something on Facebook today where somebody said that Mother Nature is just throwing things out like Powerball. You know, it's 80, it's 14, it's 37. It's every day is something different in Texas.
It's been bizarre. It's been odd. It's here in Tucson. We just moved actually recently, and our new apartment has a fireplace, which we've never had. And our kids are just going nuts because it's been really cold. And like, oh, we can have a fire. It's like every day is like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, so it's pretty cool.
We did the same thing. We did the same thing when we moved into our house. We had a fireplace, and so if it gets below like 79, we're like, oh, yeah, fire.
We're so pitiful. We would go up to Canada and we would just.
Yes. We have fans on, but the fireplace is on.
That is awesome. So that's so cool. Bryann, so let's talk a little bit about you. Like I said before, I've met Annie. She's a lovely lady and a wonderful story with her. So now I want to hear a little bit about you and kind of how you got into the coaching world and where that started from.
Yes. So shout out to Annie. Annie is awesome. So anybody who needs a life coach should go to Annie. She's amazing. So I got into life coaching because I had a friend. Actually, my best friend was a eating disorder therapist for years and got really burnt out doing one-on-one therapy. So she transitioned to become a life coach because even though there are some similarities, there's also some huge differences between therapy and life coaching. And she was really loving the life coaching because you get to meet people in their world. You know, you get to kind of dive deeper than you do in a more personal way than a therapist. And she was going through a divorce at the same time. So I'd been divorced for several years. I had unofficially coached or helped, mentored other women, and I was doing that for my best friend. And she was like, "You should totally be a life coach for people going through divorce." And I was like, "That's dumb, like that's silly. I can't do that, And then like a couple months later, she said it again. "No, you really need to do this. You're really good at it. You've got to do this." No, that's silly. I brushed it off. I've got another job. I don't need to do that. And then someone that I was mentoring who was going through a divorce, she told me, she's like, "You should do this like full time. You should do this for a living." And again, I blew her off. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I had a third person say that to me in a pretty short, just a couple of months. And when they finally said it, I was like, maybe I'll think about that,
Yeah.
And so I looked into it and just kind of started doing it as a side gig at first. So that's how I met Annie. And we had this idea to collaborate on a podcast. We had one episode in mind. Like when we started, we're like, hey, we'll just do this one episode. And it turned out we had so much content for that one episode of the Happy Mama Village, which is what we called it, because we're both mamas, obviously. And we broke it into 5. We ended up breaking it into 5 episodes. And then that was it. That's all we had. We didn't have any more content. We didn't have anything beyond that. And we just kind of kept rolling with it. And so that's kind of how it started. The Happy Mama Village, that's how it started. It was just kind of us like,
yeah.
you know. And at the end of 2019, we had about almost 50 episodes. So we ended 2019 with 50 episodes. And we started kind of reevaluating, like, hey, what do we want? Like, we kind of didn't start this with any great plan in mind. What is it that we want to do, you know? And maybe we need to relaunch with a purpose, you know, and treat this more like a business. And so we thought about doing retreats, and we looked into that. And that kind of morphed into, no, we really don't want to do retreats. What we really want to do is have an online course. And so we spent about a month like rushing and just tons of time and effort into creating a course for overwhelmed moms. So, and that's what we're doing. So we're launching it actually this week. So it's a really big deal for us. We're really super excited about it. So it's called The Road Trip to Happiness, and it's for moms who are overwhelmed. They feel unseen. They feel like a mom zombie who's just, you know, going through their day-to-day life with, you're just trying to survive, you know, and you're not really thinking about next week, next month, next year, 10 years from now, what am I going to do when my kids are out of the house? You know, nobody's really thinking about that. So many moms are so overwhelmed that they're just, I just want to get to bedtime so that I can crawl into bed and just zone out for a little while. And I've been there, Annie's been there, and we want more. We want more for ourselves. We want more for all the moms out there. So we created this course that will take you from feeling unseen and unappreciated to feeling like you're living with some intention. So
that's really powerful. And it's nice that you found something that is obviously something you can collaborate on and kind of pull your resources and your thoughts and ideas. So let's break down some of the stuff you talked about, because I think there's a lot to unpack. First of all,
I threw a lot at you.
No, it's super cool. Well, that you're super passionate about it. That's what's so awesome. I'm listening to this going like, it is so cool to be. So how long? Let me just ask the question real quickly, and then I'll jump into it. But how long have you been life coaching? Like, how long? When was this actual transition? When did you actually start doing this?
So for a year. So I've been a certified professional life coach for a year.
Okay, so within a year, then you and Annie have partnered up to try and like obviously get the podcast going. Then you've started like, you know, collaborating and saying, well, let's figure out what our intention is with the podcast, because I think that's super important too. It's very much like what you said with your podcast. It's very much like a lot of people treat their business. Like, I'm just going to start working with a few people, and all of a sudden you get into it and you're like, I should really have a plan. Like, I should like it's kind of like being a parent, right? Like, oh, I should really like, this is real. These kids keep getting older. Yeah, like like this isn't stopping. Like,
yes.
So I'm gonna have teenagers soon, and I'm gonna have a grown adult. So like, what do I do? So yeah. So then to take that and actually decide, like, let's make this intentional. So talk to me a little bit about how you said you rushed around and got this online course kind of developed. What was that process like, working together and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what do we use? How did that kind of go through?
Right. So Annie and I have different specialties. We have different strengths. And so, but we both work with moms often, you know, we're working with moms. And so, and then we have the Happy Mama Village. So it was going to be a course for moms. And so we sat down and really thought about, okay, what is it that moms need? What is it that they're struggling with? And, you know, there were times in my life, just personally going through my divorce 10 years ago, where it was just survival, you know, like I mean, your head is almost, you know, underwater, you know, and you're just trying to hold on. And getting through that process, getting through that time in my life, made me who I am. It made me stronger. It gave me a certain set of skills, that not everyone has. And I believe I got through it really well. I think that I was very intentional about how I was going to make it through that process. And so I want to give that to other moms. I want to give that to other women because, who are going through divorce. Because too often it's such an overwhelming experience to go through a divorce that you don't do it with any intention. You really are just trying to make it through. And so what ends up happening is you go through this trauma and you come out the other side and you're like, where am I? What just happened? And you didn't set a course, so you didn't end up where you wanted to go. And that's kind of what moms do. You just said it, it's like you start out with these tiny kids and you don't really think about, okay, well, when they're teenagers, where do I want to be with them? You didn't really chart a course. And so you're not going to end up where you want to go if you don't have a roadmap. And so that kind of general way of looking at life is that's why we named the course The Road Trip to Happiness, is that if you want to end up somewhere, you've got to know first, where are you going? You're not going to get there if you don't know where you're going. You're not going to get there if you don't map a course, and you don't follow the map, And so the illustration we use is you're not going to get to Key West. You're not going to get to this beautiful place that everyone loves if you don't have a roadmap. You can kind of wing it and you might get close, but you're going to get lost 1,000 times. It's going to take you 10 times as long. So just go ahead and plan ahead and follow a roadmap. And so Annie and I are that roadmap for moms who are wanting to get to a place where you're living with some purpose and intention.
How are you finding the women to get connected with your podcast and start finding you online? And what kind of stuff are you doing to promote the course as it's developing, as it's, I guess, launching?
Right.
I know the show is we're kind of doing this. We're recording this right now in January, and I know right now when it's actually airing, it's going to be February time. But to get actually going, what have you done to kind of promote and get this launched up?
Right. So this week we are relaunching the podcast. So which is a little bit of a separate task than the online course, but using social media, primarily using social media.
Like what? Like what do you like? Like Facebook? Are you
yeah, Facebook, Instagram. We'll do some Facebook ads. We'll do some boosting some posts and things like that. So that's to get listeners to our podcast. We're using, we're calling it a launch party, but basically we're getting the people who love us, friends, family, listeners that adore us, to be our advocates, to promote us to people they know, so that our reach grows via our best, I can't think of the word, our strongest advocates. So, but then we've also developed a toolbox. So a Happy Mama Village toolbox. And so what that is, it's different tools, tips, PDFs, videos that moms can use right away. So we've got it in a funnel, in a ClickFunnels, and they go there, they register, we get their email, and then they get to access these free tools. Like there's one on, Annie has a video on tapping, on EFT and tapping. Yep. There's one on creating a digital vision board. There's one for a tech plan, like a family tech plan. And oh my gosh, don't we all need that for our kiddos that have iPhones and iPads and stuff like that? So they get to go and access these free tools. We get their email addresses, so we're building an email list that way. And then those are all ways that we will then advertise the course to those people.
Awesome. And it just seems like a great little narrow target, because you're really targeting not just, you know, any woman, or not even really any mom, just a mom who's kind of at a certain place where she's, you know, realizing that this is something that a lot of changes have happened that she's not expecting, or possibly just brand new to motherhood, realizing like, holy crap, if I had this planned out, I could actually do a lot better than, you know, 15 years from now when I'm looking at my kid graduating from high school and I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah. So, instead of just winging it, you know, which is what we do a lot of the time. I mean, we all do it, you know, and that's what I tell people, the women that I work with who are going through a divorce. I'm like, this is the last time in your life. You should not be winging this. You know, you're talking about time with your kids. Is that something that you want to wing? You know, you're talking about your retirement. Is that something you just want to wing? Wing it. You know, where are you going to live? You know, you should not be winging a divorce. You should not be making decisions as they come up, you know, because this is a huge deal that's going to affect you long term. So you need a consultant, you need a coach, you need a plan, you need to know ahead of time how you're going to deal with certain situations. The same thing is true with parenting. If you're just winging it, you're not going to hit the target, you know, and mostly because you don't know what the target is, you know, so you have to decide, what is that target? Where is it that you want to end up? So yes, exactly. That is who we are targeting. So
let me ask you a question here about the collaboration. How do you feel that has affected? Obviously, you guys have a great friendship and everything is really amazing getting these podcasts, get these things going. But before you decided, let's go together and work together on this, you were just a divorce recovery coach on your own, right?
Right.
So how would you say collaborating with a fellow coach has helped to shift your business? And I mean, obviously it's been an improvement. Otherwise you guys would have figured out, oh, this isn't working. So how would you say, compare, I guess, the two? I was solo coaching versus now I'm collaborating, and I'm still doing your own thing, but now you've kind of added this new layer to it.
Right. I mean, it may sound kind of cheesy when I say it, but we really are better together. And I know that in lots of industries. So my other career was in real estate. And so it's easy for people to get very protective of their email list, their clients, you know, their share of the market. It's easy to get very protective. Like, I don't want you to, you know, don't come near me. It's all a competition, you know? And that can carry over into coaching, you know, if you're not careful. So, but really, Annie and I, we really are better together. So when we were creating this course, there's parts of it that are heavy on Annie, you know, and what she brings to the table. There are parts of it that are heavy on Bryann and what I bring to the table. And I really love the final product because it is well-rounded, and it wouldn't have been that way if we hadn't have brought Annie and Bryann to the table, and what we both learned, what we both have to bring to the table, because everyone is different. I'm not going to appeal to everyone. Annie's not going to appeal to everyone. So we really do grow our audience. We do grow our share of the market when we collaborate. So we are better together. So I would encourage everyone, don't be afraid to open yourself up, you know, just because it multiplies.
Yeah, it's actually really powerful. When you find the right person to collaborate with, there's a lot. And there's a lot of that talk now going on in the coaching community and coaching world. People recognizing that the alignment, and I talked about this before on the show, but aligning yourself with people who are, you know, similar to what you're doing, who aren't exact direct competition, like you pairing up with another divorce recovery coach who are looking for the exact same clients, looking for the exact same thing, might, I mean, it still could work. You could figure out how to shift something, but you're not, like, you and Annie are two totally different. You're both life coaches. You're both focused on helping women. You're both mamas, all that stuff. There's enough together. But like you said, you have two different skill sets that you're bringing to the table. So it just widens that reach out. And I think there are so many benefits to growing together as a collaboration. And I think anybody especially getting started in this, you do have to do some research and start to make sure there's an affinity and you know and trust the person, and I mean all that stuff, natural. common
Right.
sense. Don't just, oh, take anybody, because people will do stuff. But
Right.
in general, if you can find somebody who you have an affinity with, I think that's a really smart thing. I'm super happy for both of you and your business growing. So
yeah,
cool.
I'll be honest, I got really lucky because
Yeah.
Annie is amazing. She's we are a good complement for each other, and on the podcast as well. We have very different styles. Annie is much more, Zen. That's more, meditative. That's more of her personality. I'm much more like, I'm just going to say it, and let the chips fall where they may, I'm more direct. And so we are a good mix for each other. And I think we're a good mix for our audience at the Happy Mama Village. But yeah, just don't be afraid to collaborate with other people, because you do multiply your abilities and your results when you work with somebody else. And I got really lucky. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, luck, and also just positioning yourself in the right spot where you find people who are, you start attracting people who you're aligned with and people that you're not. It's kind of it's a little bit of luck, and it's a little bit of like, you know what, you're gonna start, aligning yourself with people who have a very common interest. And so, super excited. I think Happy Mama Village, you guys listening and watching should definitely check it out. It is a fun podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. I have to admit, it's kind of like listening. It's kind of like admitting I listened to a Barbara Streisand record or something like that. Like admitting I listen. I won't tell everybody, but I have heard a few shows, and they're fun. They're great. You guys talk about, lemon martinis and all these crazy things. But it's fun. And then, oh my gosh, the road trip to happiness. You guys check out the program. I'm gonna make sure there's links down below. You guys can check it out. And if you are in any way interested in reaching out, I highly recommend. We've been talking about Annie. If you don't know who she is, she was on a previous podcast, but for goodness sake, Happy Mama Village, check out Annie and Bryann. They are a lot of fun, really know what they're doing, really care about helping moms get out of the momby, I love that term, the momby zone, and getting some results. So Bryann, thank you so much for taking the time today to jump on the show. It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out. New episodes are coming out every few days, including lots of conversations with massively successful coaches sharing their secrets with you. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel so that you don't miss out. And if you're looking for a way to start making serious money from your coaching, you need to check out my free training. It's at williamwinterton.com. I lay out the step-by-step on how to start making 5 figures a month in the next 60 days. Check it out, williamwinterton.com. I'll see you next time.